Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, is a sequel to Knives Out and is once again written and directed by Rian Johnson and sees the return of Daniel Craig as Detective Benoit Blanc. And I'm very excited to give you guys my review for this movie. If you've seen it, be sure to leave a comment of what you thought about it. As well, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Now let's get into this review. Like the first Knives Out movie, this is a murder mystery, and this time it takes place in Greece, specifically on a little island in Greece, where Edward Norton's character Miles invites a bunch of his friends to the island, including Benoit Blanc, and they're there just to have a fun weekend and do like a murder mystery game, but things start turning real as events progress. So I was very excited for this movie because I loved the first Knives Out movie. I think it's probably my favorite movie of 2019. So I was very excited for this one, and for me, it did not disappoint. I absolutely love this movie. I watched it last night with my mom, and we had a great time watching it. There's a lot of really funny moments, and I thought the story itself was great. It had some great twists and turns. There's a lot of things I was not expecting. There were some very clever moments with their twists and turns when they're like, you thought they were doing this, and then later on you're like, oh, you're actually doing this. There's a lot of sort of that stuff going on. It was very exciting, very well done. Absolutely loved it. Had a great time watching this movie. And this movie definitely different than the first one, which is great because I was worried it was going to just feel like another murder mystery similar to the first Knives Out. This is very different, and the murder mystery is done in such a different way, and you don't know exactly how different it is until sort of the second half of the movie. But yeah, they definitely do some very interesting things, very different from the first film, like I said. And like the last film, this movie's got a big cast with a lot of big names. You got Edward Norton, Dave Bautista, Janelle Monáe, Catherine Hahn, and some more as well. This had a really good cast. I enjoyed the characters for the most part. They're definitely exaggerated, but so were the characters in the first movie. And this movie's got the return of Daniel Craig as Detective Benoit Blanc, and I really enjoy his character. I have a lot of fun watching him and his character. I know some people have an issue with his accent because it's a little over-exaggerated, but I'm fine with it. I think it works for this movie and the character because I think all the characters in these movies are over-exaggerated, so it works for me. I had fun with it, and he was, I thought, given a great performance in this movie. As I said, this movie's got a lot of twists and turns, and I think that was one aspect of this movie that did a better job than the original. The original had some really good twists and turns as well, but the twists and turns in this one felt bigger, more surprising to me. And like when they're setting up this movie, I was sort of like, okay, I can guess a couple people I think are going to be the ones to go, like the first people to be murdered, and I was wrong about that because they set it up in a certain way. But they do a really good job of just going against what your expectations are in a very satisfying way. So that was all great. Like throughout this movie, I was like, oh wow, did not see that coming, or did not expect that twist. And that's, I think, what the best murder mystery movies do. It did an excellent job with that. For me, I think my biggest issue was that the start of the movie was a little bit slower, whereas the first movie started at a really good pace right from the get-go. This movie takes a bit more time to set up, which was alright. You got time to sort of get to know the characters a bit, get to understand their dynamics together, but it was a little bit slower. But the rest of the film was so fun and great that it's a minor issue for me, that first portion of the movie being a little bit slower. That's probably my biggest issue. Other than that, I have some nitpicky ones. Like there is a bit more CGI in this movie than the last one. Not a lot, but there were a couple of moments where like, okay, you're standing in front of a green screen. But for the most part, it looked like it was on set, on location, which was good. Just a couple moments, and I can understand why it was like that. But it wasn't too bad. But this movie can be hilarious at times and very shocking at times, and that's what I loved about it. That's sort of how I felt about the first Knives Out. Hoping to get that again. Got that, and got a very different movie that stands on its own, which is great because that's where it's going to be very similar to the first movie, just another murder mystery sort of taking on the template of the first movie. This one has a very different template. I think for me, out of the two films, I slightly prefer the first one, but this one's very close in quality for me. They're about, the first one's like here, the second one's about there, so they're very similar in how much I enjoy them, but I just like the first one a little bit more just because this movie has a slower start, and I enjoy the characters in this movie, but I enjoyed the ones in the original movie just a little bit more. But other than that, I really enjoyed this movie. All the supporting characters were great. Edward Norton was a lot of fun in this. Janelle Monáe was great in this as well. She was a very pivotal character in this movie, and she was one of my favorites. She was great. The stuff that she did with her role in this movie, I thought was very interesting. That's where some of the surprises and twists were. I really enjoyed her character. She gave a great performance, and everybody else I thought was a lot of fun, and they were very different characters again from the characters in the first movie, which was great, not copy and paste like I was nervous about. They were all unique, and I enjoyed them for the most part. They were like the first movie. There's some characters that are there but don't have much to do, but they were all right. And like I said, I do enjoy these characters, not quite as much as the originals. But overall, I love this movie. It had just a little bit of a slow start, but after that, it moved very quickly and was fun, funny, surprising. It had great twists and turns, and I love this movie. It's definitely one of my favorites of this year. And like I said, because I love that first movie, it's very close in how much I enjoyed this one compared to the first one. I just think I like the first one just slightly more, but I love this movie as well. I hope they do a third one. I think they're going to do at least one more, and I'm looking forward to it, assuming they do that. So for me, I would give Glass Onion a 93%. Really love this movie. The good outweighed the few negatives I had. Had a great time with this movie. If you guys have seen it, be sure to let me know what you thought about this movie. As well, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for some more reviews coming soon. I'm going to have a review up for The Shining coming shortly, so stay tuned for that. And until my next video, take care everybody.